I am literally still shaking from the sheer audacity of what we just watched. I cannot believe Leslie Thomas. I mean, I know we have all been watching this show for a long time, and we know Leslie has a history of being absolutely toxic, but this episode took it to an entirely new level of vile. When Leslie saw that Kat was safe and Eva was severely injured, the way she absolutely tore into Kat was disgusting. She viciously criticized Kat, screaming at her and blaming her for Eva's injuries. It takes a truly malicious, dark-hearted person to say the things Leslie said to Kat in that hospital hallway. I was screaming at my television. How can a mother act like this? Kat was standing there, covered in trauma, and Leslie just ripped her to shreds. And my heart just broke for Kat. She desperately tried to explain what happened in that dark, terrifying stairwell, but Leslie just chased her away like she was garbage. Kat didn't deserve that. Later, we see Kat breaking down and explaining everything to Ted, Chelsea, and Tomas, and it was one of the most gut-wrenching scenes of the entire season. Kat admitted that she panicked when she saw Eva so badly hurt. And let's be real for a second, Kat was completely honest about her initial reaction. She admitted she deeply regretted her first thought, which was assuming Eva was just faking it to get attention. And can you blame her? Given Eva and Leslie's history of manipulation, of course Kat's first instinct was to think it was a stunt, but the moment Kat realized the blood was real, she was terrified. Kat made it so explicitly clear to Chelsea and Tomas that she only left Eva's side to desperately search for the rescue team. She never wanted to abandon Eva in that stairwell. She did everything she physically could in that moment of absolute chaos and destruction, and she has been praying nonstop that Eva doesn't die. Thank goodness Ted, Chelsea, and Tomas actually have some common sense and empathy. They completely understood Kat's perspective and reassured her. They know exactly who Leslie is, and they know Leslie was just lashing out in a moment of temporary blinding anger. But still, the emotional damage Leslie inflicted on Kat in that moment is going to leave a scar. Does anyone else feel like Kat is constantly the punching bag for this family's dysfunction? Okay, let's take a deep breath and pivot to some actual good news, because I desperately needed a break from the Leslie drama. Let's talk about Martin. Everyone gathered in Martin's hospital room, and the collective sigh of relief I let out when he woke up was huge. Our guy is awake, and thankfully, it's just a mild concussion. I was so terrified he was going to need some crazy emergency brain surgery, but the doctor said he could actually go home without needing further monitoring. But of course, because Martin is Martin, the man literally just woke up from collapsing, and the first thing on his mind is the primary election tomorrow. I was yelling at the screen, "Martin, please go to sleep. The election can wait." Seriously, the man is a total workaholic. Everyone in the room was begging him to just rest and take it easy, but his political ambitions never sleep. Dr. Madison Montgomery had to step in, and honestly, Madison is doing the Lord's work right now. She gave Martin a very strict rundown of all the concussion symptoms he needs to watch out for: dizziness, nausea, confusion, and made him promise to come straight back to the hospital if he experiences even one of them. I love Madison's professional energy here. She is not letting him play the tough guy. Meanwhile, back at the brownstone, the vibe was completely different. Vernon and Anita were at home, sitting together and just processing the absolutely devastating aftermath of this tornado. The sheer destruction of Fairmont Crest is mind-boggling, but you could see the profound gratitude in Vernon and Anita's eyes. They were so incredibly relieved to get the news that Martin wasn't seriously injured. They were just sitting there, counting their blessings, realizing how incredibly lucky they are that their immediate family made it through this terrifying natural disaster without any fatal injuries. It was a really beautiful, grounding moment amidst all the chaos. It reminded me why I love the Dupree family so much. At the end of the day, their foundation is solid. But the trauma of the tornado is definitely triggering some deep, painful memories for other characters. Let's talk about Jan and Ashley. Jan was doing her best to comfort Ashley, who was completely overwhelmed by the chaos of the storm. And guys, this scene absolutely broke me. Ashley was crying, and she admitted that dealing with all these emergency situations and the sheer panic of the tornado brought all her memories of Derek rushing back. We all know Derek was a hero. Ashley said through her tears that Derek was always so incredibly good in these high stakes, dangerous situations, and it is just a tragic, devastating shame that he wasn't lucky enough to survive his own crisis. And then Ashley made a comparison that completely blew my mind and had me reaching for the tissues. She compared Derek to Doug McBride. She said they were both such great, capable men, but they were ultimately just so unlucky. She talked about how both of their losses have left this massive, unfillable void for everyone who loved them. Hearing Ashley talk about Derek and Doug in the same breath just highlighted how much grief this community is carrying right now. It is a tremendous loss, and seeing Ashley still drowning in that sorrow is so hard to watch. I just want to give her the biggest hug. Now, speaking of Doug McBride, we have to talk about the absolute mess happening over at Joey's house with Vanessa and Deanna. I am so frustrated with this storyline. So Joey and Vanessa are at his place. The power is finally back on, and Joey promises Vanessa that he will alert her the absolute second her phone rings with a call from her kids. He knows she is pacing the floors, sick with worry. So Joey steps away for 2 seconds to go prep a shower. And of course, that is the exact moment Deanna finally calls. Vanessa answers the phone, and she is so relieved. She is practically sobbing. And Deanna actually sounds like she is worried about Vanessa too. For a split second, I thought we were going to get a beautiful, healing mother-daughter moment. But no, because this is Beyond the Gates, we can't have nice things. In the background, Deanna hears Joey's voice talking about the shower, and instantly, Deanna's entire demeanor flips. She gets completely furious. She immediately assumes that because Joey is there and talking about a shower, Vanessa must be having a great time and isn't actually worried about her at all. Are you kidding me? Deanna, your mother has been literally losing her mind with panic all night long. She was ready to tear the city apart to find you. But Deanna just lets her teenage angst and her resentment completely take over. She accuses Vanessa of not caring, tells her not to call anymore, and hangs up the phone. I was throwing my hands in the air. The miscommunication is so painful. Vanessa is trying so hard to hold her family together, and Deanna is just letting her trauma and her hatred for Joey blind her to her mother's love. Make it make sense. But guys, all of that drama pales in comparison to the absolute bombshell that dropped at the hospital regarding Eva. This is where the episode went from dramatic to completely unhinged. Dr. Holly walks out of the operating room, and the look on her face said it all. She delivers the news to Leslie, Ted, and Isaiah. Eva has severe liver damage from the fall. She is bleeding internally, and if she doesn't get a living donor liver transplant immediately, she is going to die. I literally gasped out loud. The stakes just shot through the roof. The news hit Leslie and Isaiah like a physical blow. Leslie, in a total state of frantic panic, immediately demands to donate her liver. She is screaming, begging them to take her to surgery. But Ted steps in and stops her. Ted knows the medical history, he knows the blood types, and he knows full well that Leslie is not going to be a match. And then the camera slowly pans, and Ted turns his head and looks directly at Kat. The tension in that room was suffocating. Kat instantly realizes what Ted is about to ask her. She can read his face, and she immediately puts her hands up and refuses to even listen to it. And look, I know some viewers are going to hate Kat for this, but we need to talk about Kat's boundaries. Kat is not refusing because she wants Eva to die. That is absolutely not true. Kat is refusing because she is completely paralyzed by the massive, impenetrable emotional wall she has had to build between herself, Eva, and Leslie just to survive their toxicity. You cannot just flip a switch and ask someone to undergo a major organ donation for a person who has made their life a living hell. And this brings us to the most frustrating part of the episode, the massive clash between Kat and Isaiah. Earlier in the episode, Isaiah was actually defending Kat When Leslie was screaming at Kat in the hallway, Isaiah stepped up and said that Eva wouldn't like Leslie talking to Kat that way. I was cheering for him. But the second doctor, Holly drops the liver transplant news. Isaiah completely flips. Because he is so desperately terrified of losing Eva, he starts aggressively pressuring Kat to be the donor. Isaiah is in Kat's face, pushing her, demanding that she step up and save Eva's life. And that is exactly what causes Kat to completely explode in a fit of absolute rage. And I am 100% on Kat's side here. Isaiah, sweetie, I know you are scared, but you have absolutely no right to force or manipulate Kat into giving up a literal piece of her body. Bodily autonomy is a real thing. You cannot guilt trip someone into an organ transplant, especially when that person has been emotionally abused by the patient and her mother. Isaiah's pressure was completely out of line, and Kat's furious reaction was completely justified. She felt cornered, attacked, and treated like nothing more than a spare parts factory for the golden child, Eva. But let me give you my ultimate prediction for where this is going, because I have been watching soap operas long enough to see the writing on the wall. Despite all the rage, despite the toxic history, and despite the unfair pressure from Isaiah and Ted, I firmly believe that Kat will not let Eva die. When the dust settles and Kat is alone with her thoughts, she is going to look at the terrifying reality of the situation. She is going to calm down, push past her trauma, and she is going to agree to the liver transplant. Because deep down, Kat is a good person. She is the bigger person. And when Kat does this, when she literally risks her own life and gives a piece of herself to save Eva, it is going to completely shatter Leslie's world. Think about it. Leslie just spent the entire night viciously blaming Kat, telling her she was a monster and wishing she was the one hurt instead of Eva. When Kat steps up to be the savior, Leslie is going to be forced to swallow every single vile word she said. I am predicting a massive, tear-jerking scene where Leslie is going to have to get down on her knees, beg Kat to save her daughter, and deliver the most groveling, painful apology of her entire life. Leslie is going to have to live with the profound regret of how she treated the very person who holds Eva's life in her hands. And honestly, I cannot wait to watch Leslie eat crow. It is going to be the ultimate redemption arc for Kat and the ultimate slice of humble pie for Leslie. What do you guys think? Is anyone else like me, completely screaming at the TV during that hospital scene? Do you think Kat should donate her liver after everything Leslie and Eva have put her through? And what the heck is going to happen with Deanna and Vanessa? Drop all your thoughts, theories, and rants in the comments below because I need to know I am not losing my mind over this show. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Beyond the Gates breakdowns, and I will see you guys in the next video.